the ironing board is in my back. I'm going to go like that and move it out of the way so that it's not poking me. Welcome everybody to Duffel Bag Sew Along week 2. Thank you for bearing with me and the chaos of last week. That was my shelf falling off the wall. If you are here to watch more furniture fall on me, you will be sadly disappointed. Hopefully, knock on wood, because I'm sitting down and we're sewing today. And I'm not gonna have furniture fall on me ever again. That was very unpleasant. There's one thing I want to mention about last week that I forgot, and hopefully you didn't make the same mistake that I did. I believe there is a misprint. It's not in the mini duffel bag. It's in the regular patchwork duffel bag. So on page, let me find it here. Oh, on page 2, underneath the little patchwork piecing chart here up at the top, it says first number is the number of squares wide by the number of squares long, and it says that the end panels are 4 by 3, so the end panels are 4 wide by 3 long, and that is not in fact the case. They are 3 wide by 4 long, so they should look like, and the diagram is correct, so they look like this, but reading those directions, they would end up looking like this, and that is wrong. And then if you look at the one in the shop, the faces are upside down because I didn't have time to go back and recut it and whatever. So don't make that mistake. So I did not have time to do nearly as much as I wanted to this week. There's my coloring chart. Here is what I have together for us today, is just one of the pockets, and we're going to quilt that so you can see how that's done. So there's my pocket. It is supposed to look like this in this pattern. Whether it's successful or not, we shall see. So I'm going to move the camera down here, and anybody who's got questions, tell me. Live chat, there we go. Say hi, people that are watching, so that I know you're watching, because it's lonely talking to myself. So we are quilting. The method, thank you, I love my Felix. I totally want to make another sweater now. I'm ready to do the ranunculus, which is the next knit along, and I have to finish my girl's best friend shawl first. We are quilting these pieces, and how this lining is this bag is put together is unique in bag making, because it is put together like you're putting together a quilt and then it's assembled. So it's sort of like half quilt, half bag making. And I think it's really accessible because of that, because it's not super difficult at all. So what we're going to do is you're going to take your outer pieced piece, or not pieced if you're using a whole cloth, and I would still recommend using a quilting needle regardless of whether you're using a whole cloth or not, because I think it's going to the piece is going to be quite thick in itself, especially if you're using soft and stable instead of batting. I'm just using a scrap of batting that I have, and then this is going to be my lining. So what we're going to do is we're going to assemble everything so that it is sandwiched. And I've cut my backing piece a little bit wider. When I did the first one, I had the whole big thing laid out on the floor, but because I've cut this smaller sample, and so there, everything's roughly oriented in an upright position. Now to baste, and this goes for anyone who's wanting to quilt, there are two methods well, there's three methods. You could baste with thread and long stitches, Hello, Anne. You could baste with thread and long stitches, which is going to take a long time on a large quilt. You could use temporary adhesive, which is what I prefer. This stuff, it sprays on, it's fast, no muss, no fuss. That's my preferred method. You could use curved basting pins. So they look like safety pins. They just have a bit of a curve to them. I find they get in the way when I'm trying to quilt, especially I have to, because my eyes are not great, I have to mark out everything. And so I prefer to spray baste, not have things in the way, and then go from there. So I'm going to spray base this right now. So you're just going to spray on, and it's a temporary spray glue. That's all it is. Smooth it down, and I have ironed everything, so there should be no like crinkles or kinks. And if it doesn't, if you're like, oh, I don't like the position of this, you can absolutely like reposition it a little bit, just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the back. And this stuff is, yes, it's a little bit smelly. Yes, it can get on your floors and is a little bit sticky. But all in all, I find it's the best solution for working. And see there, it's not going to like come apart. Now, in terms of choosing what you're doing for quilting, you can absolutely get super fancy with this. There are mathematical equations about how far apart and spaced your lines could be. I would say you probably want to avoid stitch in the ditch unless you're really, really precise with it, because otherwise, if you, and stitch in the ditch is when you stitch in where the seam is, it's going to show up. The easiest, most straightforward thing is straight line quilting. And so that's what I'm going to do for this. I did diagonals on the other one just to sort of like change this up. I'm going to do straight ones and like up and down lines. And I am going to use this friction marker because this is what works best for me. This is what I can see the best. I have used water soluble pencils in the past, which wash out. There are air erasable markers. The only downside to those is that they do disappear. And so if you don't get to your quilting right away, whatever you've marked out will disappear. And then there's a tool called a Hera marker. It sort of looks like, I gave mine away because I didn't like it. It sort of looks like the bamboo point turner, but it's got a like big flat paddly curved end. And what you do with that is you use it to crease. So you can see, like I just did that with the point turner. I don't know if you can see that right there. For me, that's not enough when I'm sewing. I need to actually see lines. Oh, I should have put my walking foot on. I'm going to still do that. Oh, I've got to grab it over here. So, and this is the walking foot. So if you've got a FAF, you've got an integrated walking foot. Some other machines have integrated walking foots. This is the walking foot that came with my machine. What I like is this little arm thing, because all I need to do is mark one line, and then I move this little arm spaced out how far I want my lines to be. So I don't have to actually mark everything. I just need to mark one line to begin with. And I need my screwdriver in order to get this on my machine. Oh, I've got to take this off. So yes, ask me, my 5 people that are watching, ask me questions right now as I do this, and then we're going to jump back into. And normally I like this, not that it's a pain in the butt, but it's a bit of a pain in the butt. Like I have to take off this piece. Would you recommend a walking foot so your lining batting doesn't slip from your So the walking foot, yeah, the walking foot acts as almost a second. No, it's not because of the bar. So the walking foot acts as a second set of feed dogs, which helps to feed the fabric through more evenly so you don't end up with puckers when you are quilting. The bar is just a handy little bonus feature. And yeah, this is a bit of a, it's a bit of a work to convert your machine. And so I like to sort of save it. Like normally I would, of course, Emily, I would save up the quilting portion until I was actually ready to do the whole thing. I do not have all of my pieces pieced at all. I just got them cut out. Like I said, it's been a week. Okay, so I'm going to do just straight line quilting. I'm going to, this middle piece is 2.5 inches wide. So half of that is 1.25 inches. So I'm going to mark 1.25 inches. And then, so 1.25 inches. So I'm going to space all of my lines 1.25 inches. Which means I will get like in the ditch here, but then it's going to be nicely spaced throughout that. So you can see, I can actually see that line. When you are quilting, you want to set your stitch length to a long, and let me see if I can like get you to actually see this. Set your stitch length to a longer length than a standard stitch. So like somewhere between a 3 and a 5. And you don't need to backstitch. This is super awkward. The way I am sitting here. Woo, that was no good. Do this. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we go. So this bar doesn't matter at all on the first line. And we'll see how accurate that was. Meh, mostly. So then what you do on your second pass is you line up this bar with that first line that you've quilted, and then that gives you the measurement of, sorry, oh, what am I doing here? You need to line this up with, there's 1.25 on my machine. So if I'd wanted 1, it's there. I think the closest it can go is like not quite 3/4 inch. I could move it all, and I can move it all the way out to 1.5 inches. I could even move it past that. So I'm going to go 1.25 because that's what I said I wanted. And then you line that was a crucial step I missed. Then you line it up with this line, the first line you quilted. And that's giving me, on this piece, a stitch in the ditch. Now, not super important on a tiny piece like this, but on a much larger quilt, in order to prevent because what quilting does is it shrinks everything down. In order to prevent your quilt from shrinking down in an odd or like one-sided manner, because we've just done one line here and one line here, we're going to, and you always start in the middle when you're quilting and then work your way outwards. Instead of going over to the next line here, what I'm going to do is do this line here, and that way there's even tension between the two sides. So I turn it upside down. Place my marker there. There we go. And honest to goodness, I might rip this out because it's not super neat looking right now because I'm sitting like way over here instead of in front of the machine. And then we flip back and do the same thing here. This side seems to be okay. The other side, not so much. So, and that is, you know, I'm going to stop there. Because like I said, I think this is really wobbly and so is this middle one. And I'm going to probably rip these out and redo them when I do the whole quilt. But that gives you an idea of how you quilt what you're quilting. Again, you can use this not just for this project, but for any quilt that you are quilting. These are the standard, you know, sort of methods of quilting, the very basics. And then what we're going to do is, according to whatever size it tells you in the book, you're going to cut these down. I'm just going to pop this back up here for a second. We're not super long today. So that's the point of the project that you should be at. We are, when I did the original duffel piece, I found that the cutting, the piecing, and the quilting is what took the longest. We're going to take a break next week because of March break, and that gives everybody time to catch up so that they have all their pieces ready so that we can assemble it when we come back from March break. So that is that. Let me know, folks, if anybody has any questions. How come I can't see the chat anymore? I don't know. And yeah, I will keep watching and monitoring this video if anybody has any questions after watching it, and let you know that, yeah, I will answer your questions in the comments. But for now, all we're doing is quilting our pieces and getting them ready to be assembled. You're so welcome, Emily. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody else, for watching. I hope everybody has a great week, and we will see you in 2 weeks.